Hey everybody, it's Charles again with an entry for the 9th of April 2014, and um, today I was my first day working at PAX like I try to do, or I've done for the past 2 years, and I don't know, I mean it's hard work, but it makes me feel, good because it's tough and it's exhausting, but I kind of enjoy those situations because it allows me to test myself. And I like the fact that they do take part in a charity, which deals with giving kids video games and toys in hospitals and stuff like that. So especially now because as pretty much all of you know, I've been in and out of the hospital, for the past 6 months pretty regularly, and so even now it makes more sense for me to do my part and try and help them out. I mean, yes, I know I'm not directly helping the insurance or directly helping the charity, but doing my part to help the company will in turn hopefully help out them helping or running the charity. But that's a different segment. That's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. Um, tonight's tonight's going to be kind of a downer. Um, it's going to be about a recent problem that I've been facing that hopefully just got solved recently, within the past couple of days. Um, as most of you, as pretty much all of you, I hope or I think know, because I think the only people that really watch my videos at this stage, and maybe for good, are family members who follow me on Facebook. I have Wilson's disease, and I'll make a video that really explains, how how the symptoms showed up, how I kind of dealt or actually didn't deal with the symptoms when they first initially, exposed themselves. And I'll deal with, the doctor's visits, and I'll talk about that, and I'll get down into the nitty gritty, and how they made me feel and shit like that. Because I mean, obviously, not everybody's, most people's, pretty much everybody's case is not going to be the same as mine, because Wilson's disease is such a rare thing, and they're not going to be in the exact same circumstances as I am. But I think it's good for somebody to be very, to open up about what having a major disease is, and to, for people to actually see, that there is a face behind it, that there is, I'm behind Wilson's. I don't want to be known as, Charles Bruce, Wilson's disease guy, but I feel like if outing myself helps, get the knowledge out there, or if it helps other people suffering with a major disease, maybe a cancer or something like that, then it's worth it. I mean, if people come into my life or anything like that, or if I get a job or anything, they're gonna have to find out about the disease eventually. I'd rather it not be a surprise or maybe a deal breaker. I'd rather meet people who are willing to deal with it from the get-go. You know, I'm not trying to, I've never tried to hide it from anybody, but I've never, I don't want to wear it on my sleeve either. Like I took this psychology course, and it was filled with a lot of different aged people, and I remember this one girl was we were talking about, like, I think it was just like depression or something like that, and then this one girl just, we were talking about, like, it was like the first 10 minutes of the first class, and then this girl just like raised her hand, and we were talking about something very abstract, and then this girl just raised her hand, and she was like, blah blah blah. She gave a quick answer, and then she was just like, I'm bipolar, and she just like threw it out there, like she just like wore it on her sleeve, and it like defines who she is. And I mean, it's good that she's so open about it, but I don't think, anything should define. I don't think anything bad should define you. To me, it seemed like she was making it like who she was. She was making it like yes, it's obviously, Wilson's disease is obviously a part of me, but I don't feel like the bad defines me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want this to be a sympathy party. I'm not looking for sympathy. I mean, like I've said before, I appreciate friendship and everything, but when I talk about my disease, I don't expect like, oh, or I don't expect like, oh, it's so sad. I just, most of the time I'm just venting. I'm just fucking heated that I have this disease. I'm not blaming, anybody, although, maybe God, but we'll talk about my views on religion in a different video. I'm not obviously not blaming anybody. Nobody gave me this disease. I mean, even my parents didn't know that they were carriers of the genetics that are required for somebody to inherit this disease. As I'm the first known case in my family, so it's nobody's fault that I got it. Nobody on earth. So I don't fault anybody for getting it, and I don't blame anybody. I don't, my anger towards the disease. It's just my anger at life, and I'm not to say I'm constantly bitter and I'm constantly angry. It's just, I'm doing the best, or I was doing the best to live my life and make my mark in the world, and survive, and then I just got an extra hurdle. I'm obviously not going to be pleased about that. Living life is tough enough. You don't need major disease to just get in your way. But again, that's another tangent that I'll talk about later. Um, this video is going to be centered on the current, or the previous struggle that I went through about health insurance costs. Basically, Wilson's disease is a very expensive disease to have in terms of insurance. Well, God forbid if you get Wilson's and you don't have insurance. You're going to be screwed. That's why everybody I talk to now, I meet new people, or I'm on the internet, I tell them, get yourself some health insurance. Get the best health insurance that you can get. Because, I mean, I thought I don't want to say I thought I was invincible, because I did have a fear of getting hit by like a car or something like that, because I was intelligent enough to know that accidents do happen. I have multiple friends that have gotten hit by cars just randomly out of the blue. They weren't stupid about crossing the street or anything. They weren't bike couriers in New York. They were just normal people who just happened to get caught and clipped by a car, and it hurt them greatly. I think one person was out of work for like 4 months. Another person, both the legs were broken. It's just, I mean, that I wasn't expecting it, but that I could understand. But I didn't think I would get hit by some kind of major disease that I didn't bring on. Maybe like if I got an STD by not being careful, that I could understand. But I came down with Wilson's disease, which was with me from the start of life, that I didn't know about. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So I had one of the cheapest plans that I could, cheapest health insurance plans that I could get through work. And it wasn't the greatest, but thank Jesus I had it, because Wilson's disease was it's very difficult to diagnose and requires a lot of testing. So, like I said, I'll get into the exact process later on in a different video. But let's just say that to get prior to being diagnosed, I probably spent about $150,000 of insurance money just in getting diagnosed. That's going to a walk-in clinic, then going to the walk-in clinic repeatedly, having a lengthy assortment of blood tests done repeatedly, just to see how why it's up one time. Maybe I'll take some medicine. Does it go down? Just repeated tests. Just repeated blood tests, repeated procedures done. I had a colonoscopy and endoscopy. That's where they stick a camera up the rectum. And then there's one that went down the throat. Different cameras is what they like to use as a joke. But yeah, I mean, thankfully I was knocked out for both of those, so I didn't feel it. So I don't really exactly know how. If you have any questions about the actual procedures, I can't really give you that information because I was knocked out. But yeah, those were two procedures I had. I had a liver biopsy where they went in through my neck with a little, a little like grabber or something like that, and that's how they got it. I do have a little like mark here, or on one side of my neck. I'm not exactly sure which one, but yeah, I mean the liver biopsy was how they got it. But yeah, like I said, I spent over $150,000 just getting diagnosed, and then there's obviously an assortment of like things that they have to do to discover how bad the Wilson's disease is. That also ran pretty high. Um, I think I gauged it to be about $400,000 last year to really get me diagnosed and get me set up. Maybe not 400, maybe probably about 350, yeah, around maybe 350, we'll say. That's probably a little low, but we'll say about $350,000 just to me getting set up, to where I'm taking the medication. I'm I'm talking about $350,000 last year. So I was diagnosed in October. So yeah, and then I'm trying to say it cost me $350,000 last year, the whole thing. And then this year it's probably going to cost me, I think I factored it out with how much my medication costs. It's going to be like $400,000 just to keep me alive this year. At least $400,000, depending upon, if there are any complications, if I start to get worse again, or if I some other symptom appears where I have to go back to the hospital or something like that. I mean, my immune system and my liver are pretty, they've been hit pretty hard. They're not where it should be, obviously, and they're not where they once were. So I mean, I'm not. My doctor's hopeful that I'm out of the woods because I'm taking the medication and I am getting better, but it's still always a possibility that something major could arise. But yeah, like I said, so it's like $400,000 to keep me alive about per year, and that's mostly because of medication. But we'll get into that in this video in a little while. But basically, I was on a shitty plan at work, a shitty healthcare plan that I got through my job. I only paid like I think I paid like $30 every 2 weeks, and it was through United Healthcare. And United Healthcare, they it was a shitty plan, and my problem with United Healthcare was that they were very impersonal. You know, if I had questions, they'd ask me to fill out a form and email it to them, and they'd get back to me, in 3 to 5 days. And it just felt like, oftentimes I was looking for a phone number to call them to talk to somebody directly, and I just couldn't find it. I looked on their web page, I looked on, the website, I looked on the forms that they had given me, and the bills that they had mailed me, and I couldn't find a phone number. It felt like I was just dealing with some massive company that that was run by a computer, not by human beings. And so that got me a little angry. Plus the fact that bills would appear on their website, and I would get emails telling me to pay them. And obviously, you're going to get billed no matter how good your insurance is. So I would pay them. And then it turns out that so I had paid a bunch of them. And then it turns out that they were like still being adjusted. They weren't finalized amounts. So I'd pay one of them, and then it would get adjusted, and then it would say that I hadn't paid it, and then I'd have to find out if the money actually went to where it was. Thankfully, there was never any question about whether or not I paid it. The records were always kept. I made sure to always keep on top of it and things like that. But when you pay like an $800 bill, and then you look 2 days later and it says like, no, it was supposed to be 900, and then it gives some weird like negative 800 amount, and then you're just like, hey, now it's asking me to pay 900, but where did my $800 go? So that got me a little upset. I mean, so it got to the point where I would just I stopped paying. Like eventually I learned and I stopped paying through them, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait till MGH sends me the paper bill. I'm gonna, every time they ask me, I'm just gonna request a paper bill. Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where they were sending me bills and I was just straight ignoring them. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I still have any outstanding bills with them. I hope I don't. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm waiting for, or I waited for all the MGH bills because I couldn't trust them, to actually, keep everything organized and so that I wouldn't be double paying, because I did once double pay. They sent me an amount, um, and they grouped it differently, and then I got a bill through MGH, and I paid that, and then it turns out that the way that they grouped it and the way that MGH grouped it was different, so I actually double paid. But thankfully, I got a check back from MGH, Mass General Hospital, which is the hospital that I went to. I'm glad I went there. I'll get into that in a different video. It's one of the better hospitals in the country, I think so, and I've heard. So I feel like I got a good quality of care there. But yeah, I'll talk about that in some other video. But yeah, I mean, those were the problems that I had with United. But United was other than the billing problem and the fact that I couldn't get in contact with seemingly anybody, it was still, it still felt like a half decent insurance company. Once I learned not to pay the amount that they emailed me, and once I had reached, like the deductible and all that, but I mean, that's based upon the level that I had, so I can't really complain about that. I mean, I obviously went for the worst one because I didn't know I had freaking Wilson's disease. I thought that I would just, I thought that like I said, I didn't think I was invincible, but I didn't think I would come down to something so expensive. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not going to complain about the deductible or anything like that, but so I was on United Healthcare, and then the beginning of the year I decided to switch health insurance, which it didn't occur to me that it would be such a bad idea. I knew that you didn't have to pre-expose or notify insurance companies if you have a pre-existing condition. Like, obviously, if I did that, nobody would want me. Nobody wants, a case like me because I just straight cost them money. $400,000 a year. Like, imagine how much I would have to pay a month for them to work out, for them to make a profit on me. It would have to be a tremendous amount. So obviously I'm costing them money. I'm costing any insurance company money. But like I said, it was largely due to my It's largely due to the medication that I take, the main medication that I take. The main medication that I take, it's called Cyprin, and I think they call it a chelate or a chelate or something like that. But basically, what it does is it takes the copper that's already in my body and helps me pass it through my urine. That's the basis of Wilson's disease. The basis of Wilson's disease is that the copper that I intake through food, water, that's supposed to be passed through my system, it isn't. So for me, copper just builds up in my body. It just builds up. Like I store it, like I hoard it. And when you have too much, that shit gets dangerous because it affects your liver and, then your kidneys, and then it goes all over the place. It can go to your brain, your eyes, other organs. So the Cyprin is actually taking the excess, that I have in my body, and it's pulling it out. So obviously that's very crucial. Well, I have too much, but then again, you still have to have a, a small, like, I can't be 100% copper free, and I can't completely eliminate copper from my diet, because you do need some copper intake every day. Your body does require copper to survive. Most people, the excess that you take in per day, obviously it passes through your system, but not me. So I do have to make sure that I do get, or I can get some copper. There's no way that you can really get 100% free copper, but I just have to make sure that I don't get too much in, because I am taking this medication. If I wasn't, then obviously it would be a different deal. But so I do have to take this medication, and thankfully it's eliminating the excess copper in my body, which was really screwing up my organs. It was making me dead. It was making me fatigued. It was making it hard to think. I was sleeping up to, like 18 to 20 hours a day. Those the 4 to 6 hours that I was actually awake, I could barely move. I was pretty much just watching TV in bed, or maybe sitting in a chair, trying to surf the internet. But yeah, I mean, so the Cyprin was, or is, my crucial medication. It's the one that I have to make sure I take. All the other ones that I take are more for like comfort, and they're more for smaller things. But if I stop taking the Cyprin, long enough, then that shit gets, it gets dangerous, because then my body starts to accumulate copper again. So I mean, maybe if I miss like one, or if I miss like maybe a couple of days, the doctor doesn't think that there'll be any harmful effects, but it's not something that I want to do. But yeah, I mean, so if worst comes to worst, that's, that I can technically do. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that I want to do, but if I have to do it, then it's okay. But the problem is that Cyprin that I have to take. There's another medication. It's called like penicillamine, but it turns out that I'm allergic to penicillin, and penicillamine is made, one of its primary ingredients is penicillin. So, plus the fact that penicillamine, it's an older treatment, and it does have worse side effects. You have to monitor like your white blood count and stuff like that. So obviously the Cyprin is a better fit for me. But the problem is that Cyprin is it's the dosage that I'm taking right now. It's $28,000 per month. so that is pretty expensive. I mean, obviously I can't afford that, with no insurance. So I have to, for the rest of my life, I have to stay on insurance, or for the rest of the time that I'm taking the Cyprin, and probably the rest of my life, I have to stay on insurance. I can't, I can't. Some people, they lose a job, they let their insurance wane, they let it, fall off. Oh, I'll get a new one in a couple of months when I start a new job. That shit it's not a possibility for me. I mean, I can't. I've got savings built up, but I mean, dropping, $30,000 of your savings on 1 month supply of medication, it's just, it would hurt me. Like, I mean, I've worked hard for many years, and I don't want to lose, my savings by just being stupid and not having insurance. I mean, obviously, if it's a straight up life and death situation, then I'll have to do it, but it would not be something that I would want to do. I mean, I haven't worked so hard for so many years just to get it taken away in 1 month, or just to get a chunk of savings taken away in 1 month. But yeah, I mean, it's $30,000. So it's $28,000. So insurance companies require something that's called a prior approval, which is where you submit a claim for the medication. They go, whoa, now this is pretty fucking pricey. we got to talk to your doctor about this, or he's got to fill out some forms, and then he's got to get back to us on why you need this shit. Because obviously, if it's some kind of medication, and it's just like, yeah, I'm just giving it to the patient, just because he wants it, or fucking to see what it does. They're gonna be like, yo, we're not paying $28,000 for you to fucking take some medication that you don't really even need. So my doctor has been very good about that. I'll talk about my doctor team in a different video. But so yeah, you have to apply for the prior approval, and on United it was granted, quickly, within like half of a day. But it was $107 just for that medication per month. So that was kind of pricey. I mean, I don't make any medication. I mean, I don't make that much money. And I was doing the $107, and I could do it. And obviously I have financial help from my family, so it wouldn't really hurt me. But it was just like $107 per month unexpected bill. I mean, it's like I cut cable so that I could save money. I take public transportation and no car so that I could save money, and it's just like $107 out of the blue. It's like, hey, I could have gotten, I could probably get, that could pay for my car insurance easy. It's like, or I could have gotten, cable, an extremely good cable package. I could have gotten a much better internet package, and I could have gotten a home phone line all for that money. So it's just like, if I can lower that cost or anything, it would really, it would be very sensible. So when the new month rolled around, I was like, it would be intelligent of me to get better insurance from the start. Better insurance, it covers more tests, things like that. Plus the fact I wanted better insurance because there was the question of whether or not I would have cancer, because my liver is very weak, and so my body coming down with something else, the chances are increased because, I'm not as strong internally as I should be, as I wish I was. But so there's always the possibility now that that a weakened, it's like when you have AIDS, your immune system is so weak that, you don't die of, or you can obviously die of AIDS, but you get hit with like a cold, and next thing you know, you're on your deathbed. It's just because your immune system is so weak due to AIDS, affecting your white blood cells. So my liver is kind of like that. It's it's not as strong and as resilient as it should be. So I went for the better insurance. In the there were these plans called Platinum, Gold, Silver, and Bronze. And before, I had Bronze on United, and so I wanted to upgrade to as good as I could, and so I called up, as good as I could afford, I should say. So I called up all the different companies that were offered, and I researched the plans, and I wanted Gold or Platinum, which were the two highest levels, obviously. But I did research, and I found out that my medications on a Gold plan would be $100, whereas my medication on a Platinum plan would be $40. So the difference between me going for a Gold and Platinum, because I obviously have to get my medication, it would only be like $10. So it's like, hell, it's only $10. Why not go the extra mile and get the best Platinum plan you can get? That being said, there was a discrepancy in prices between, or there was a difference in prices between the different companies. I got one of the major insurance companies, what I had heard that was a good company, but it was also like $30 to $40 less per month for the Platinum plan than United's Platinum plan was. So I was like, hell, I'm going to go with this. The Platinum plans they all have the same, hopefully they all have the same benefits. I called up and I specifically asked, how much is this medication, Cyprin, going to cost on this plan with you guys? and they all gave me the quote of $40, and it was just like, so I'm gonna go with the major company, but that's cheaper. It's it's 1/3 cheaper. So that's the one I went with. I'm gonna not I'm not gonna mention the actual company. I'm not gonna say the name because I don't want to. If any representative or anything sees this, I don't want it to become an issue. But let's just say the name consists of 2 items, all of one specific color. Um, that should probably be enough to give you an idea of what it is if you know insurance companies. Um, I mean, if you're close to me, you can obviously just ask me, and I'll tell you. But I don't want to say it out in case my video ever does get seen by somebody part of the company. I don't want to be bad mouthing something that I need so crucially. Yeah. I mean, it's not to say that I'm scared, but it can't help me to badmouth somebody that I'm asking them to, cover my ass. So, but that being said, I didn't have to tell them that I was, that I required. Sorry, just checking the timer. That I required, or what condition I had, because you don't have to do that now. It's a law. So basically, I just signed up, and hell, they're stuck with me. So they were stuck with me, and every time, and so, that first month, I had to go to them. I was just like, hey, I need this insurance. Submitted my middle paperwork. The doctor submitted the prior approval form for me, and then the problem started to happen. Then they took their freaking sweet ass time approving it, up to a point where I was starting to run out of medication. Like, I was legitimately out of medication at sometimes, and then I was like, yo, doctor, you gotta do something for me. And he was like, fucking, I'll do what I can. And he like emergency put through, some emergency doses for me. Because he was like, you might be good for a couple of days, but he was like, I know you don't want to be off of it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be off of it. So he had to emergency put through some doses. And their big thing is prior approvals being classified as urgent and non-urgent. Obviously, urgent, it's quicker. They're supposed to review it quicker than non-urgent. But so of course I call up, hey, why is this taking so long? They give me the runaround. Oh, somebody put it through as non-urgent. We weren't told that it was urgent. So then like I was like, well, it's fucking urgent. So then I'm just like, oh yeah, the doctor called up. Yeah, he told us it was urgent earlier today. Yada yada. And so they were taking their sweet time, and then they still took longer than it should have taken. Much longer. I had to call back repeatedly. Doctor called back repeatedly. Pharmacist called back repeatedly. By the way, on a side note, I love working at a pharmacy now because I'm so close to the pharmacists that they give me, their straight shots. Like they'll call up repeatedly for me, and because I'm on a good relationship with them, so they're just trying to, they're just like, yo, I called up, dude, and they're still giving me, the bullshit. Like I don't. If I go to another pharmacy and I talk to them, they're gonna be like, oh, the insurance company's a little slow. But these guys are just like, yo, I called up and they're fucking dicking around. And it's just like, I like getting the straight shots, the straight shooting from people. Yeah, that's why I'm thankful, to be so close to the current pharmacy team that I have at work right now. But that's a different point. Maybe I'll make in a different video. But so the insurance company is giving me the runaround. You call up and, oh, you got to call up at this time to talk to this specific department. Oh, that they're on holiday today, or oh, they just closed, or oh, they're not open yet, or something like that, or it just felt like they were just giving me a straight runaround. And so my doctor was putting through emergency doses. I was just like running through, doing whatever I did. at times I wouldn't tell my doctor this, but I would get feared for running out, so I would cut back my dose. I only did that like a couple of times. But, instead of 3 pills, I would only take 2 in order to make sure, that I could maybe have, 2 for another day or something like that. Um, so yeah, so there was that bullshit, and then thankfully it finally went through. Um, it finally went through. And then, so of course I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, fucking, they were dicking me around, but eventually you finally gotta fucking say, hey, like, we've strung this dude along enough. We're gonna fucking, it's gonna go through now without it. Otherwise, I could straight up fucking probably, I could take him to court if anything, if it was really, really, like, noticeably. Like, now they can use deniability and say, hey, fucking, it wasn't put through as urgent, or maybe, the computer system screwed up, or something like that. Whereas if they took, that much longer, I could be like, yo, they're just fucking stringing me along, they don't want to pay for it, I'm taking these assholes to court. But so, you get that kind of bullshit. I mean, I understand it, to be honest, I'm making a killing off of them, They're paying $400,000 a year just to keep me alive. I'm fucking one dude. I'm not related to any of them. I'm not some big shot. They don't fucking know me. So it's just like, I'm obviously costing them a shitload of money. Insurance companies, they're obviously here to make a buck. Like, they're not doing this shit out of any charitable ideals. They're trying to make money. And I severely cut into that. So, yeah, so they were pretty much giving me the runaround. I only have to get the prior authorization done once every year, but they were giving me such a shitty runaround. And then finally, when it was filled, I breathed a sigh of relief, and I was like, oh, thankfully that's done. This is, I'm going to stick with this company, for years, so I'm not going to switch to a new company, so they're not going to, they can't say like, oh, we were caught off guard or any of that shit. I'm going to stick with this company for years. But then I got a couple refills, and then I tried to go for another refill, recently, and they gave me a straight runaround that the pill amount, due to the fact that my doctor asked for the emergency fills, the pill amount per month had changed because, I had like 7 pills, it was an emergency pill, so I only got it filled for like 3 weeks, so it wasn't the total month, supply, so the pill count had changed, which obviously affects the total. So now I go to get my whole month's supply, and then it's bullshit again. Oh my god, it increased so much. It's now like it was a high money increase, I think they kept telling me. And now we have to go through the whole prior approval thing again. And this time they dragged their feet even worse. I was fucking calling up, and they would tell me, oh, somebody didn't put it on fucking urgent. And I was like, it's the same medication as it was last time. It was urgent last time. Why would it not be urgent this time? And then you get oh, we don't know, it's in your case. And then so I was like, all right, it's urgent. And then the doctor would call and be like, it's urgent. And then the pharmacist would call up and be like, it's urgent. And then fucking, they'd be like, I'd call up and they'd be like, all right, somebody just put it in as urgent, or I'd call up, a while later, a couple of, 3 days to see how it was going, and they'd be like, somebody just put it in as urgent today. And I was just like, so we talked to you before, and you guys said, I told you it was urgent. Other people have told you it was urgent. It was just, computers, and then so fucking, I'd be like, all right, but it's urgent now, urgent. And I would specifically use the term urgent. because urgent is obviously supposed to be a quick turnaround. And then they were telling me, yes, urgent, it's in under urgent. And then so of course the time frame for urgent would come, and I'd call up and I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? It was in as urgent. You straight up told me it's urgent. And then I would get the, oh, you got to talk to this specific person. Oh, it's still under review. Oh, we've got so many, prior authorizations to look through. We're just a little slow, the queue is slow. Oh, we're doing our best. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I understand you've got a lot to do. I mean, you're a big company, but it's like, dude, I need this shit. Like, I can't afford to be off of it, I mean, I don't want to admit to them in the slightest that I can, maybe take 2 days, because then next thing you know, they're trying to push me for a week or some shit like that. But so I'm like, dude, I need this shit or else my fucking liver starts poisoning itself. And then I'm like, and then I get sick. And I'm like, I don't want to get sick. So I'm just like, I need this shit. And then, oh yeah, very soon. And they'll quote me days. And then on those days, I'll call up and they'll just be like, oh, soon, it's still under review. Still under review. So they just drug their feet like you wouldn't believe. And it's difficult because I'm just, I'm trying to go to work and I'm trying to give a shit about other things. And, people are talking to me and shit. And I'm working at, a store, and people are complaining about, like, oh, you don't have this item. Oh, I came specifically for that. And I'm just like, bitch, I'm dealing with a situation at home where I don't know if this insurance company is going to give me the medication that I need to live. And it's just like, fucking, and you're complaining to me about, not having fucking a coupon item. And it's just like, oh, it was tough to keep focused. And it's tough to just, obviously there's not much I can do, which I understood. I'm on the phone with them pretty much, every day. I know I'm badgering my doctor. I know he's calling them. I know I know the pharmacist is blowing them up. I can hear them blowing them up on the phone sometimes. So I know we're all calling them up. We're fucking badgering the fuck out of them. And we're doing pretty much all we can do, aside from fucking going down there and, cracking some skulls and busting some heads, which I actually considered at one point, because they're not in the Massachusetts area. They're in Illinois, where the home office of my company is, where I work. So I've actually considered, I actually was considering, going down there and just going to the front desk and being like, dude, let me talk to somebody, and I guess some supervisor. You guys are fucking me around here. But so yeah, I mean, I'm on the phone, they're dragging their feet, I'm getting excuses, fucking, my doctor's doing, running emergency strips, 7-day supply, 12-day supply. And obviously I'm paying the full $40 supply, or I'm paying the full $40 price tag for these emergency supplies of the 7 and, the 3 days, and then so they charge you, it's $40 if you get, 2 pills, or it's $40 if you get, the 180, which is what I'm supposed to get. So I had to get an emergency script, which was $40. Thankfully, they had promised one day, and I ran out of pills like the day before, and so the pharmacist was just like, "Hey, I'll give you an emergency supply," and it was just subtracted from the full amount when you actually get it. And so I was like, "Thanks, that'll save me $40 then." And so of course she gave me that emergency supply, and of course they fucking missed the deadline. So it's just like, oh, now you need. So I was like, you gave me those pills, but I went through them and they fucking missed the deadline, and they're still giving me the runaround. So then I got my doctor to put in a 2-week emergency script, and then I finally and so then I was good for 2 weeks, and then fucking the day after I got that, they tell me it finally went through, and so that I should be good for a year. if it doesn't, if the pill, the denominator, or if the cost of the pill does not increase by a large amount. So obviously this pill is, it's a huge price tag, and pill costs do fluctuate. I've been told from the pharmacist that they do fluctuate. And so I don't know how much the fluctuation it needs to be for them to make me go through the prior authorization thing again. I obviously hope I don't, hit it, because I don't want to deal with this shit again. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's been pretty rough trying to get this medication. Obviously now I'm breathing a sigh of relief, because it did get put through. One thing that did get me quite heated, though, and it got a lot of the people that know me heated, including the pharmacists, was some members of the company was like, hey, if he needs this medication so long, and if he needs this medication so much, and if it's taking us so long, he can obviously just pay out of pocket. And then it's just like, fucking, it's like, no, I can't really, bitch. It's like, I don't, it's so expensive. Like the pharmacist he put it very well. He was like, he can't pay out of pocket because it would be like him buying a car every month. So, I mean, they throw that out just kind of like a hey, fuck you little remark. And it's just like, they obviously know that it's impossible for me to fucking afford that. I mean, I don't make much money, but even if I did make like a very good salary, it would still be very hard for me to, I mean, just $30,000 of just straight excess money. I'm not talking about shit money that you get for you've got stored away for your rent for the year, for your car payments or anything like that. I'm just talking about excess money that you can just spend. Money that you just got sitting in your bank account that, won't be affected by any bills or anything like that, that you can just throw a month's supply of medication. And yeah, I mean, that wasn't an option for me. I mean, it was, but, I don't want anybody to know that was, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, if it's life and death, that's something that I'll have to deal with. But, so if you were to ask the company, I'm not even sure if I've said the name, accidentally, but if I have, fuck it. But if you were to ask the company, they would just tell you that, it took a little while because fucking we had a lot to do. It wasn't put in as urgent the first time it came through. Yada yada yada. Like there was even I would call up and I'd ask to like, what does it say in your little like notations on my like account thing, and they would say it only says exactly what I just like. I asked. I talked to somebody, a couple of days ago, and they said that they would put it in as urgent. Does it say anything about them putting it in as urgent? And then they would say, oh no, it just says that I'm putting it in, like it just says that you called up, fucking for it, and now I'm putting it through as urgent now. So there's no record of it being put in as urgent before. And so, yeah, so I mean, if you ask them, they would just say, it took a little while because we had a lot to do, computer systems, yada, yada, yada. But to me, it felt like they were intentionally dragging their feet because they want me to find different insurance. Obviously, that's a heavy accusation to make. But I mean, after talking to the pharmacist, after talking to doctors and people, and just getting like, trying to get a little insight into insurance companies, they're just like, yeah, dude, I've never seen anything like this before. It's never been that hard for me to get that and get medication. Any other insurance, Mass Health, other insurances, other government insurances, other insurance companies, they'll just fucking, they'll bang through the prior authorization quickly. And so, like I said, it just felt like they were intentionally dragging their feet, just trying to make me feel unwelcome without it being, like legally provable so that I would just get fed up and I would fucking bounce. And because obviously they're losing money on me and their main goal is to make money. So I'm, it's a heavy accusation to make, like I said, but that's just the way it feels. And obviously it's a very shitty, it's very, you know, I'm obviously not looking for sympathy about it because it's something that I have to deal with. It's a situation where I have to be tough and I have to fucking. I'm not going to call myself courageous, but it's fucking, you just got to look at life and you got to like, dude, this is a part of your life now and you've got to fucking deal with this shit. Fucking crying or going home to like fucking mama doesn't do shit in a situation like this. You just got to fucking stomach, like, chin up and bear this shit. And, fucking keep on your ass, keep on their ass. The pharmacist is like, hey, dude, fucking, you gotta be the hardest advocate for your own welfare now. You gotta be fucking pushing everybody that you can push. You gotta be going hard at everybody that holds up. And it's the truth. You gotta be on top of that shit. Like, fucking, thankfully I've got, like I said, I've got a good pharmacy and good doctor team, and they're on top of it with me. If any of them are slouching, like if my doctor, slouches on fucking sending that form back, and then they drag their feet on top of it, that's even more detrimental to me. But thankfully they're all on top of it, and I greatly appreciate that, and I've let them know that I greatly appreciate that. But it's just, I feel like fucking, I'm angry at the insurance company because obviously I don't like the way I've been treated. I mean, I didn't fucking ask for this disease. I didn't fucking do it. I wasn't smoking dope, and I wasn't smoking dope, and I used a used syringe, and I got it. It was just fucking something that was given to me. It just fucking happened. So obviously, I'm a little heated. I'm a little heated that I'm going through this shit. So I'm not exactly really pleased at the insurance company, but I do understand, that they're just trying to make a buck. So, and I do understand that they are people. So while I should be, aggressively angry at them, there is a sense of understanding, and which, maybe I should be angry at the individual people, but, I'm just trying to fucking survive. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get my medication, take it like I'm supposed to, and I'm just trying to fucking survive. And I know this has been a downer, but I just felt like it was something that I didn't know any of this kind of shit went down. I knew that insurance companies sometimes balk at paying bills. Like I heard that the people that are injured, sometimes the insurance company plays games, but I had never felt a game like this being played on somebody like me. But so now you actually know the story, and it ain't. People think that a major disease is just the disease. Oh, I've got cancer. Oh, that's fucking chemo. But they don't think about how you're gonna pay for that shit and all the insurance company bullshit. And now you know a little bit about the insurance company bullshit. So I hope I've opened you up a little bit to it. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Thanks.